Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining in for today's webinar presentation. Today we're taking a look at the keycard interfaces working with RoomKeyPMS. So our outline for this webinar, we're going to start with some introductions. We'll take a look at defining what is a keycard interface and what does it do. We'll look at the different types of keycard interfaces that work with RoomKey. Then we'll talk a little bit more about how to manage physical key cards and how to manage mobile key cards. I'm pretty excited to show you about that new feature there. And then we'll look at when you can start using these tools, and we'll wrap up today's presentation with a summary and Q&A. So diving right into our introductions, my name is Tasha Leclerc. I'm a trainer and implementation specialist with RoomKeyPMS. Joining me today, I do have our Director of Customer Experience, Mr. William Tam. I will be leading today's presentation and the demonstrations on screen. William will oversee the chat and Q&A functions inside the Zoom webinar. So if you do have any questions throughout today's presentation, go ahead and click that Q&A button in the Zoom webinar. You can ask a question and William will be able to answer. If there's any other questions left over, we can also include those in the Q&A at the end. A couple more things about today's webinar. This is being recorded. You might have heard that little notification at the beginning of the start today. The webinar recording will be made available on our support website following today. For those of you that are joining in our live presentation, we do have a webinar survey for you to complete at the end of our presentation. If you can provide us a couple of moments for feedback, and if you have any suggestions for future webinar topics, we really appreciate that input. Speaking of webinar topics, our next webinar next month is going to be on maintenance and housekeeping modules inside RoomKey. Okay. So let's dive right into our topic for today and define what is a keycard interface. It essentially allows you to program a guest room key card from RoomKeyPMS. So within RoomKey itself, that communicates with a device or mobile application, and it allows the guest to actually enter the guest room. So we have a couple of different types of keycard interfaces that work with RoomKey. The first one here is our physical key cards. These are the most common that we work with. They could be proximity keys that the guest can wave in front of the door lock, or they could be a swipe or MagTech key card that the guest actually swipes through the door lock. We are also happy to partner with a mobile key provider that allows Bluetooth key guest room locks. We are partnering with a program called Flexipass that allows you to control mobile key cards that you can send directly to a guest mobile device. And instead of having a physical key, the guest would be able to use their smartphone device to actually open up the Bluetooth lock for their guest room. So let's take a look at these in a little more detail. We're going to start with the physical key cards. As mentioned, this would be a key card that you would program using a device. So if you're using mobile key or physical key cards, you may have one of these devices or a similar device at your front desk, where the front desk team, they would swipe or insert to program the key, the physical key itself. Now, with our new partnership with with Flexipass, we do offer these mobile key card options. You can still have a physical key card programmed, but we do offer, or Flexipass does offer these mobile locks, Bluetooth locks that allow the guests to access their room using their mobile device. So with the physical key cards, the guest would arrive at the front desk and the front desk team would perform the check-in just as normal. And during the check-in process, the front desk agent will notice that there's a checkbox in the top right-hand corner that says Create Key. So for physical key cards, you can create or you can start the program process right at the time of check-in. You can also do it after check-in. So with the in-house guests selected, you can click the front desk menu and click Create Miwa Key, or if you're using a different type of device, if you're working with Dormakaba, Onity, Ving, any of those providers, you would see that option available to create that type of key from the front desk menu. Now, whether you are creating the key at check-in or after check-in, you will have this pop-up appear on screen, and this allows you to choose the number of key cards that you're going to program. So by default, it will select 2, but if you wanted to create more keys, you can increase, or sorry, by default, it'll show 1, but you can increase that to 2 or however many keys you want to create. Now, one thing I would like to note whenever you're creating key cards is that this new card checkbox will be selected by default. This is the choice that you want to have whenever you are creating key cards at check-in. But if you are creating key cards after check-in, you may want to remove this checkbox. If you create a new card after check-in, it's going to deactivate those cards that have already been created. So just be mindful of that whenever you're either creating key cards at check-in or after check-in. Now, once you select Create, you can then get an approval message in this screen, and once that key card programming has been communicated to the device itself. Great. So now let's take a look at what it looks like for the new mobile key cards. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are working with a company, a new partnership with Flexipass. And with Flexipass, we have now developed a new application for our mobile guest check-in. So I have a short video here to show you what that looks like for a guest. This is the pre-arrival mobile check-in app. So if this is their first time seeing the mobile check-in app, we do have a couple of other videos and other presentations about mobile check-in and checkout for our guests. This is a new addition to the mobile check-in process for those guests. So the guest would receive an email on their day of arrival with a link to the mobile check-in or pre-arrival check-in. So that's what we'll see here. So for mobile key cards, the guest would start the pre-arrival check-in. They can review their information, their contact details, email address. Then they can review their reservation details, and they can accept all terms and conditions, provide their signature, just like you would on a reg card. After the reservation details, this is where the guest can actually choose the number of keys. So they can choose how many mobile keys they want to have. For each mobile key, if they choose 2 or more keys, they can actually list separate email addresses to send those keys to, or they could send them to the same email address. While the guest is completing the mobile key information, they can also choose to have physical keys if you give them that option as well. Lastly, the guest would complete their arrival details and complete their mobile check-in. Now, at the end of mobile check-in, the guest would be prompted to download the Mobile Keys app from either Google Play or the App Store, and it'll direct them to the appropriate one here where they can download that Flexipass app. Great. So that's what the guest would see on their side. They would be able to go through that check-in process, or sorry, the mobile check-in process as part of the overall mobile check-in process for RoomKey. Now, in RoomKey, when a guest has completed their mobile check-in and they've selected to have mobile keys as well, in RoomKey, the front desk agent would still see their mobile check-in information. They'd be notified that the guest has completed the mobile check-in. So the front desk agent can then go forward and actually complete the check-in process for the guest. And the check-in process in RoomKey is going to look the exact same. At check-in, they are going to see that there is a create key checkbox here, just like you would with the physical key cards. Also, just like the physical key cards, the front desk agent would have the ability to create a mobile key card after check-in. So these options are the same inside RoomKey itself, but what is different with the mobile key cards is that the pop-up that appears is actually going to give them the options of creating physical keys as well as mobile keys. Now, the mobile key process, they would select create and do the physical keys, just like we saw with the physical keys previously. But with the mobile keys, instead of actually creating mobile keys, they are issuing keys in this case, and they're going to be issued to an email address. So if this is an example at check-in, if the key has not yet been created or issued, that mobile key that the guest has requested as part of mobile check-in, the front desk agent can click Create All. Now, after check-in, if the front desk agent is creating new mobile keys or issuing new mobile keys, they can select Add and then add in and verify the email address at that time as well. So a little bit different there for the mobile key component, but again, if you are offering the physical keys in addition to the mobile keys, that physical key option is available at the top as well. Now, to control the mobile check-in, what we saw for the guest app, we actually have that included in the mobile module inside RoomKey. So I'm just going to open up RoomKey on screen. Oh, sorry, just getting a little error message there. Let me just refresh the screen here. Thanks. Okay, so the mobile key application is controlled within our mobile module. So in system configuration, you would select mobile. And this will open up on screen. Now, this is the area that you would use to control your mobile check-in and checkout. And within the check-in tab, you will see a new tab called Flexipass Mobile Key Config. Now, this tab does come with some standard messaging that shows in the guest application that we saw in that short video. You do have the ability to modify or customize this messaging. You can click on the modify button on the right-hand side. You can modify any of the messages that appear throughout the guest mobile check-in experience. Any changes that you do make, you want to click Save in order to update the mobile application for the guests. I'm just going to hit Cancel here. That will not make any changes. So very quick way to access that information and control those details within the mobile application here in RoomKey. Let me just head back to our presentation here. So now that we've seen how we can use both the physical keys and the mobile key cards, a big question is when you can start using these tools. Well, because we have the software built and the connections already set up, you can actually get started with these tools right away. If you are currently looking at your connecting your keycard device to RoomKeyPMS, or if you are interested in our mobile key applications, you can reach out to our inside sales manager, Margot. Her contact information appears on screen. You can send us an email. We'd be happy to talk with you about some of the pricing and more information. We will be able to also direct you, help lead you if you are interested in updating your guest room locks to be able to accommodate mobile check-ins and mobile key cards. So to summarize our quick presentation today, these key card interfaces allow you to streamline that process of check-in and ensuring that you are able to control access to your guest rooms. I'm just going to open up the floor now to see if there are any questions about any of the presentation we have today. No? Oh, okay, it does look like there are no questions. Wonderful. In that case, I would like to thank everyone for joining in for our presentation on the keycard interfaces. I'm going to go ahead and close down the webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.